Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in to the Establish the Run NBA DFS Injury Analysis Show for today, Thursday, December 28th. I am your fill-in host, Gary Hartman, of course, here with the one, the only, the great Mike Gallagher, who hopefully, along with Drew Dinkmeyer, made you a lot of money yesterday on some Brooklyn Nets stuff. Mike, how are you feeling today?
Feeling pretty good. I kind of overslept a little bit, but feeling pretty good. Yeah, the Mikel takes were strong to quite strong yesterday, so really happy about that. We don't have a bet all your money on this spot today, but a lot to talk about. Let's get to it.
There's a lot to talk about. Let's dive right in. We got 8 games on tap tonight. Only one team on the back end of a back-to-back, and that is the Dallas Mavericks. We'll talk about them at length when we get there because it does not sound like Luka Doncic is going to play tonight. We do have a bunch of teams on the front end of a back-to-back. Celtics, Grizzlies, Nuggets, Spurs, Blazers, and Hornets all on the front end. Let's start at the top with the earliest game of the night. That is the 7:30 game, Detroit, Boston. On the Detroit side, Isaiah Stewart is out. And Killian Hayes and Asar Thompson are probable here. We've seen, the Pistons mess around with starting lineups depending on who's available. What are you expecting here tonight out of Detroit?
Yeah, so this is kind of tricky because we've seen Monty's inclination to go bigger, but Jalen Duren's just a different animal. So I think they start him at the 5, and then they have Bagley, who hasn't played any minutes with Duren all season. Sure, it's a little bit different with Stewart out. And then Weissman may be playing. Who knows? They've been kind of shuffling them in and out. We've seen kind of Weissman ahead. So I don't really have a great feel there. But I feel pretty confident they're going to start small. So that should mean Asar Thompson starts. And then Jaden Ivey, who I think has played pretty well enough to keep his starting job. Killian, we saw him, kind of like this illness thing is like cut him down a couple times here. So I think he's going to be out there, and then obviously Bogdan, and then we'll see what happens. Maybe they bring in Joe Harris to help out with the 4. Maybe they bring Kevin Knox in there. He's played a bunch, so but I feel pretty good they're going to start small with Asar being inserted in the starting lineup.
Cool. And do you have any expectations on like Killian Hayes' minutes range coming off the bench here?
Pretty low. I just think they don't really. I mean, Cade's playing so. Cade, he was starting because they wanted to play Cade off the ball a little bit. Now, right. Cade's is so good on the ball that you don't need to do that anymore. So I think that the Killian Hayes' upside to ease off the pressure off Cade isn't needed anymore because Cade's just playing so well right now.
Cool. Let's dive to the other side of this game, and a pretty big one here with Jaylen Brown being out for Boston. I mentioned they are on the front end of a back-to-back. They are at home against Toronto tomorrow night, so certainly a bit of a tougher game there. Mostly of everyone else available except their G League guys tonight. But how are you expecting them to fill in for Jaylen Brown this evening?
Yeah, so that was kind of cold to do that to Detroit, but it's certainly warranted with the longest in-season streak they've had. So it should be Sam Hauser, right? We've seen Sam Hauser start, actually played 36 minutes a game as a starter. However, some of that was when they were really shorthanded. They were missing like a couple of those games when they were like really, really shorthanded. And he hasn't been playing well. So I don't know. We got him at 30.5 minutes. It just still feels high for like a big spread game. So I could see him getting cut down in favor of Peyton Pritchard. Maybe Al Horford gets in there for heavier minutes and those guys. But Sam Hauser should start. Certainly Tatum's going to be good to go. Minutes probably later here, front and back-to-back, big spread. We got a pretty big cut into them as far as like minute ceiling, just because we think this is going to blow out because the game is in Boston.
Yeah, they are favored right now by 17.5, which is, we're not messing around there. You mentioned the obviously insane losing streak for Detroit, this game in Boston. So it'll be an interesting one for you and Dig to talk through on the DFS show, because anytime you have a spread like that, you could see one person just really establishing himself from a DFS perspective, but the minutes always in question there. Okay, moving right along. There's 3 8 p.m. Eastern games. We'll start with Indiana Pacers here. Not much changing there. Bruce Brown still out, and all their G League guys are questionable. So do you have any notes on Indiana tonight?
Yeah, a lot. Big changes to the starting lineup. There was commentary from Rick Carlisle saying they wanted to kind of protect Tyrese Halliburton from matchups and just size against him. So they went huge. We saw Obi Toppin get benched. I expect this lineup to continue. So Tyrese Halliburton, Andrew Nembhard continuing to start, played pretty strong minutes. Miles Turner, Aaron Nesmith, again, big wing defender, and Jalen Smith. Again, I think Halliburton is going to play, mostly plays through these Q tags. And then, the lineup should be pretty much similar. Buddy actually played a bunch off the bench. That was something to note there.
Yeah. So thanks to Chad. I just see that Tyrese Halliburton was added as a questionable. So, not great. The midday downgrade, that was from 7 minutes ago. Apologies for missing that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you think he's going to play, that's obviously important. This game's in Chicago. Chicago's been playing really well. Should be a big game for both teams here. I felt like Obi was just a ticking time bomb in that starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you, expecting this to stay the same. If Halliburton were to miss, how would you see that shaking out? Obviously, Andrew Nembhard already in the starting lineup, so we're already getting big minutes there.
Yeah, it would be. I think Buddy Hield would go back in there. I think they kind of want. No, actually, I take that back. I think it would be Mathurin. I think they just. Oh my God, their point of attack defense would be terrible here. So that would change the matchups quite a bit. If things kind of change there, but I think it would be Mathurin, but it could be Hield. One of those two guys for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Other side of this game, Nikola Vucevic has been announced will be out for at least the next 7 to 10 days. And we all know what that means. That is Andre Drummond's music. Came in, played 39 minutes against the Hawks the other night, had one of his classic almost 25 and 25 games, broke the DFS slate. I think DraftKings priced him all the way up into the 7Ks now for tonight. But do you expect to see these heavy minutes out of Drummond for the foreseeable future here? And any other notes on Chicago, who is still missing Torrey Craig and Zach LaVine as well?
Yeah, so let's start with Drummond. 39 minutes. We had an over on him. Just, oh my God. Total smash here. And he actually got a shorter sub in the first half, Billy Donovan talked about. And they didn't do that in the second half because he got his win back. So, yeah, massive minutes coming again. 7K, who cares? He's like 10K.
Yeah.
Give me Drummond. So, he's going to be a really good play. Pretty straightforward there. Kobe White should mention dealing with a wrist injury. We've seen his shooting come down. That's something to kind of keep in mind here. But they wanted to play the same way. Hope he kind of shoots his way out of it. So, but should note that this slump that has been kind of happening after 9 straight games beating his over lines has cooled off. But that could be why. But they're not going to affect his role, his minutes. Billy Donovan said he talked to Kobe White about his minutes role and all that. And he says he's good with it. So expect a lot of minutes, and then we'll see if the shooting regression, positive regression and negative regression kind of comes to a neutralized situation.
Yeah, he for 2.5 weeks there, he was basically Kobe Curry instead of Kobe White.
Yeah.
As we've been talking about in Slack. That's your guy, right? Kobe White. And,
That's
obviously,
my guy, yep.
0 of 7 from 3 in this last game. Not what we have become accustomed to, but so that's a great note, keeping an eye. He might still get the big minutes, but if you want to pay up in DFS or anything else prop wise, keep in mind, you might want to see it first on Kobe White. All right. Let's keep moving along here. Let's get to the Dallas stuff. This is the big spot of the night now. Luka, really inexcusable loss. I watched that game last night. I had one lineup that I was kind of sweating to cash, and it did get there. Put Craig Porter Jr. in there. Had Luka in there too. And Dallas was in control of that game until the time Luka was kind of on the bench. Right when he came back in, Cleveland at the end of the fourth quarter just really went on a run. And Jared Allen, huge game. Karis LeVert game. That's not important, but they are sitting Luka now. I think last night, and I spoke about this on the show. We're like, well, maybe they throw Luka out there tonight if Donovan Mitchell sits, try to get the win, and then sit him tomorrow night. And they didn't even get the win, but they're still sitting him tonight. So what are you expecting out of Dallas, who gets a really tough spot going into Minnesota tonight?
Yeah, I talked about this on the injury show too, that this left quad thing is no joke for Luka. So Mark Stein reported he's going to sit or likely to sit. So yeah, I certainly believe Mark Stein, one of the best in the business, who's got so many Dallas ties. So yeah, really good reporting on that. So who starts is probably one of the toughest questions of the night. And I think there's probably 3 candidates, and I think 2 of them are leading. And I honestly think that Seth Curry is the leading candidate. Jason Kidd talked him up quite a bit. They could use some extra handling in that first unit. And he played great last night. He hit 5 threes. Nobody else can make any threes besides him. Just some tough shooting, 27%. So I think Seth has played well enough. He's had this back thing, though, that's a little bit concerning. So I think they could go back to Grant. But talked about this yesterday, that Kid wanted to get a look at this solo big lineup with Grant off the bench, basically playing with his backup 4-5. That's kind of why I'm leaning Seth here. And then I guess they could bring Hardy in. I kind of doubt it though. So I feel pretty good. It's either Seth or Grant, kind of leaning to Seth just to keep this small ball up that they're comfortable with. And Derek Lively got a really hard lesson yesterday. Jason Kidd said that, he could learn quote a lot. They ran a pick and roll right at him early. And it was like, okay, they're going to go at this dude. And I mean, look at Jared Allen's line yesterday, 24 and 23, Drummond like from him. And they, dude, again, like just this, I know the Cavs are on a slate, but they are feeding Allen touches right now. Just completely cooking. His front court touches are way, way up. Just want to know him really quick. But so expecting Dante Exum, Seth Curry, Derek Jones Jr., Seth Curry, and then Derek Lively at the
5. If Jay is obviously expecting Jaden Hardy to come off the bench here, what kind of role do you expect out of him? Obviously, they do have Hardaway, Exum. You're not expecting him to play at all?
He'll play a little bit. And he could start, like I said, but they're comfortable playing Dante Exum at the point. We saw Dante Exum play a little bit on Christmas at the point, and they were running Luka off ball for a little bit. So I feel pretty good they trust Dante Exum with this role. And again, even yesterday, the handling was up because they were trapping. That was a big adjustment. And part of the reason why they won, you saw it on the last play of the game, they trapped Luka really hard as like I've ever seen. And it was, really key to the win, and no one could make shots. So shout out Vickers. Like again, the Cavs, like we talked about the Mavs blowing this. The Cavs earned that win, man. Like they're
it was a great win for them.
Effort, really strong play.
The fourth quarter performance was excellent, and I thought Craig Porter Jr. was all over the floor in the first 3 quarters, and they decided to not close with him. And I was upset for my own DFS lineup, but it was the right call. They had the 5 that were out there were crushing. So credit to them. And we don't have the Mavericks injury report yet. We just gotten the Luka report. Do you expect to see like Tim Hardaway or Derek Lively, guys that we've seen on there quite a bit, or anything else that you would anticipate?
No, Lively's good. Hardaway Jr., we saw the illness tag, something to watch there. Like I said, Seth has this back thing. Keep an eye on that. And that's pretty much it. So they should be good. But again, Luka is probably sitting as side reported.
Cool. Yeah. So obviously this game overall becomes less interesting from a Western Conference perspective without Luka, but in Minnesota, on the Minnesota side, Karl-Anthony Towns is questionable here. Did go through shoot around, so that's a good sign. What are your expectations for Cat and Minnesota here tonight?
Yeah, fake Q. We saw him return from this thing last time. So Minnesota does this. We saw them list Jaden McDaniels for a couple times questionable. They've done it for years, so he's good.
Yep.
So starting lineup will be the same. Minutes will be normal. Again, the only thing to really note besides that is like they played more zone last game, but that was more of a product because of SGA was freaking killing them, which he's, as you found out last night, will do that. Although my guy J-Dub also got you guys yesterday. But
he definitely did.
So same lineup for sure. A little bit of slow-mo, a little bit of Naz Reid, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And we saw a little bit of Joe McLaughlin. That's something to watch because I've been kind of talking about Shake getting cut down, and that kind of happened. So, but again, the starting lineup, Slow-mo, Troy, and Nickeil are kind of and Nas, are kind of like locked in.
Yeah, not too many notes there. Let's go to the Jazz Pelicans game. The Utah side, Simone Fontecchio is questionable here. The G League guys are out. Everything else is clean, but the Jazz are one of those teams that are somewhat tough to figure out these days when everyone's available. So what are your notes on Utah heading into New Orleans tonight?
Yeah, so I think Jordan Clarkson's starting. We saw him come up the bench. Will Hardy dropped a hint in his presser that he was going to look to start Clarkson. We saw him, again, usually starting. We saw his role get flipped from like a bench guy to a starter guy last year. So I think he starts. Who else starts is like another really tough question. I think Keontae. I talked about this last time. I have no confidence in if they're going to start Keontae George. We saw John Collins come off the bench for a little bit. They might bring Keontae off the bench for another game here. I don't really know. Colin Sexton's been playing freaking awesome. Had a really cool bounce pass to himself dunk that was like in like when the game was like in the balance. Really ballsy move. But so I don't know, man. I think Keontae George, Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen, who's playing great, by the way, John Collins and I guess Kelly Olynyk start, but it could be Walker Kessler. But again, like the only like for sure things are Laurie and John Collins to me, which is insane.
Yeah.
But and then I don't think Fontecchio matters. Like we saw Taylor Horn-Tucker get booted out of the rotation. I think Taylor Horn-Tucker would basically come in for him if he's out. But it's again, like we talked about this all season since like August or even earlier than that. That the Jazz just have so many options off their bench that it's really tricky to pinpoint. But
Yeah.
again, this is like really, really tough to peg overall, but I hope I kind of laid that out okay.
No, I think that was super helpful. I'm ready for trade deadline season for this team. We need to clear out some of these names. We're about a month to 6 weeks away from that, so excited for that. Yeah, you mentioned the Keontae George piece. Still play 24 minutes off the bench. I think they're committed to having him play real minutes, whether he starts or not. Now that he's back, but yeah, it's definitely been a little bit of a hodgepodge, if you will, on the Utah side. New Orleans, we're expected to get Larry Nance Jr. back for the first time, I think, since mid or late November. He's missed, I think he's only played 14 games or so this year. Cody Zeller listed available, and Jordan Hawkins back in the G League, and he and EJ Liddell, their two G League guys, are listed out here. So, any notes on New Orleans and how they're expected to kind of bring Larry Nance Jr. back into the mix?
Yeah, I don't know if he's honestly not really a lock for minutes. They remember this like small ball lineup that I think he's going to play, but they want to play small here. They're trying to find more handling and more shooting. It's just been an issue for them. Like they were a little turnover prone and just like really poor execution. I don't know. Like maybe they go to it, but I could see them kind of like tightening things up to play Trey Murphy. They could cut down Dyson Daniels and just play it that way. But yeah, and that's mostly it. But like you said, Najee Marshall, Herb's minutes have been like really down. For him to like lose closing minutes against Ja was really painful for him. And yeah, just the use. He's been terrible, man. Like my original guy, Herb Jones, is kind of down bad here. A famous NFL reporter asked me if he should drop him the other day. But yeah. That's kind of where we're at. So I think he's in, and that would tighten things up. Trey Murphy's playing too well. That's kind of why Herb's been cut down, because Trey's been pretty effective for them. But yeah, they need a win, man. This team's like really struggling right now.
My guess is you said not yet on the dropping front for Herb Jones.
I tried to convince him not to. I didn't do a very good job because he wanted to drop him, but because he's been terrible. He can't shoot.
He's been bad.
Like,
he's been bad, but he's still valuable in like 8 and 9 cats. I think down the stretch. We'll see. But New Orleans has a lot of wings. Obviously, they want to get Trey Murphy minutes as much as possible, so certainly vulnerable there. And I know Dink's kind of had his theories as to why he's kind of watching behind his back, which is kind of impacting his production. I think that's potentially legit. But yeah, so we'll see what happened here. This is a spot where New Orleans should be able to handle business at home against Utah. So, keep an eye or we'll see how that shakes out there. What would have been a really fun Western Conference battle in any of the last 3 or 4 years. We have the Grizzlies battling the Nuggets, obviously a different situation with Memphis this year. And they're still only a week or so into the Ja Morant experience for 2023-24, but he is listed questionable here tonight on the front end of a back-to-back. And of course, they're still without Steven Adams and Brandon Clark and Kennard, and Derrick Rose is out still. G League guys are listed out. So what are your notes on Memphis? Do you have any expectation for Ja Morant tonight?
Yeah, illness on Ja, so I don't have a great read on that situation. If they did sit him out, I feel pretty confident that Vince Williams will be back in there. He's just played too well for them. They need wing size for defense. They need on-ball defense. He would almost certainly help out the Marcus Smart. Again, there's so many guys getting iced. We've seen David Roddy fall out of the rotation, Conchar out of the rotation, obviously Gilliard. We've seen Zaire out of the rotation, Xavier Tillman out of the rotation. Even Santi was fringy. So, yeah, Vince is going to start. I feel pretty confident if Ja Morant is out. Again, don't have a great read on the situation. And should mention, Ja's playing freaking awesome, man. Driving 25 times a game. Been really good off those. Has really changed the demeanor and the style and the pace of this offense. So, if he's out there, expecting, probably still a pretty decent loss because Denver's really good at home. We'll talk about Aaron Gore in a second. But we'll see. But again, Vince Williams, I feel very confident, more confident, not as confident as the Mikal Bridges stuff yesterday, but pretty confident Vince would start if Ja did miss this one.
Yeah, personally, I'm happy to see Ja playing well. I think he's great. His game is great for the league. He's so much fun to watch. My former guy,
Yeah.
Ja Morant from last year, obviously, 25 games was a lot, so I feel like he paid his dues. Hopefully, everything off the court, he's
Well,
back to
did you see
being
the
just.
finger gun thing? That's like a whole big thing.
I
Gilbert
didn't, but I
Arenas,
saw that.
Gilbert Arenas had the Gilbert thing.
Yeah,
See
no,
that?
I didn't, but I saw T
Oh my
Morant
God,
was making the
Gilbert
rounds too,
Arenas.
which is not great.
Yeah, yeah. Gilbert Arenas, who got suspended for
Of
doing the
course.
finger gun thing. He had a great tweet about it. It's classic. I was a huge, like, if we did a my guy draft back in like 2005, like
Yep.
Gilbert Arenas would
Yep.
have been like my first round pick, man. Like, I was such a Gilbert guy.
He was so much fun to watch. Those prime Wizards years, they were wearing like those random gold jerseys. I remember. He
Yep.
was super fun to watch. There's no doubt about it. Cool. Let's go on here to the Denver side. So they're on the front end of a back-to-back. So was Memphis, I should mention. They're on the front end of a back-to-back. Reggie Jackson was just added on the 130 with a skin lesion Q tag. And then, of course, we have this Aaron Gordon stuff, who are going to be away from the team as he heals from these dog wounds. Like a dog,
Yeah.
I guess, it wasn't clear if it was his dog or another dog. Kind of just like, I don't know, all different sorts of injuries for Aaron Gordon due to a dog attack, it sounds like. So do you have any insight on AG, but or what do you expect the Nuggets to do to fill in for him while he's out in the starting lineup? And then any insight on Reggie Jackson as well?
Yeah, not great on Gordon, man. Like, they, Peyton Watson and like a bunch of other players were like texting him that he hoping he was okay. So this is like terrifying.
Very, yeah.
As a big dog lover here, you kind of hate to see it here. As Brody would never do that. He's a very good dog, but yeah. So, anyways, I feel very confident that Holiday would start and they would bump Michael Porter Jr. We saw this before when he had the heel thing. The dog should have healed, excuse me. But so I expect him to start pretty confidently. Again, Peyton Watson's minutes should be pretty secure. Sorry.
I think that was hilarious. So that was well done.
Yeah. Goes from healing to not healing. Anyways, yeah. So then, a little bit more Julian, a little more Strother. We'll see about Reggie Jackson. If he sits, then they would run Jokic as the backup point guard, kind of behind Murray, who's been playing great, by the way. Murray's been freaking awesome. No surprise. My original guy, not my guy this year. But they would fill in. They would fill in the gaps. Holiday would start. I feel pretty confident about that. More Christian Brown, a little bit more Reggie, a lot of more Peyton Watson, a little more Julian Strother, and then I cover the Reggie stuff.
Yeah, I'm curious what Peyton Watson's prices are tonight. He's the guy that I might have my eye on. If you're looking for some dart throws in large field, I'm not on the DFS show tonight, so there you go. I haven't looked at anything, but certainly there's going to be some opportunity with Aaron Gordon out. I would imagine. Yeah. Okay, Miami side was a lot.
KCP's been just want to shout out KCP. He's been freaking awesome, man. Really been locking up Steph couple matchups, and he's making a run. I don't think he has any chance at Defensive Player of the Year, but he's going to get some first team, second team, defensive team. He's been just he's been just really, really good, man. And we, I talk about tough matchups. He's kind of elevated his game to like, okay, who's KCP guarding? I don't like the matchup anymore with him guarding that guy. And so that would be Ja, right? Like, Ja's going to get KCP for sure. Ja's got a little more. Ja's not like a big space creator. He's like, I'm going to just run into you and get a shot. So he's like not someone who affects guys who need space like Steph does. So I think Ja could be okay, but definitely a tough matchup for him.
Yeah, KCP's become like the ultimate late 2010s, 2020s role player in the NBA. It really has. Obviously, won multiple rings now. Just invaluable to these teams, what he does on both sides of the floor. So agree with that shout. Let's go to the Miami side. And, once we see this all the time in Miami, but a ton of big names now on the injury report today. So Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, all questionable. Caleb Martin, Josh Richardson, doubtful. That's 5 rotation guys up in flux tonight. Mike, I'll throw it to you. Take it wherever you want on what you expect out of Miami tonight.
So perhaps the best way to sum up how shorthanded they are, the Sioux Falls Skyhawks are their G League team. They're actually in Santa Cruz today. So they're like debating, do we like pull dudes off the G League team to bring them to San Francisco from Santa Cruz? And Spoelstra said he's going to talk with them and then, bring them if they need him. So it sounds like they're going to need him. So, but the easy part of this is Jaime Jaquez. Holy crap, man. Just epic game on Christmas. He's going to play all he can handle. I left my phone in my room. My 28 alarm go off in my room. So yeah, he'll be starting for sure. Duncan Robinson played really well. I would probably expect him. If Jimmy's in, he's going to start. But I think Hawkins has kind of like locked himself in there with Caleb out. And then like I said, a little bit more Duncan. We'll see if they play Jamal Cain and RJ Hampton. If they're like super duper shorthanded.
Yeah, do you have any leans on? You just mentioned do you think Duncan's in there. Do you have any leans on Jimmy or Kyle Lowry here?
Kind of no. It's just I don't really have a great read on it. Miami, we don't really get much news on that.
No.
But again,
we never know.
So we don't really get anything.
Miami. Right. Okay. So yeah, keep an eye on projections there. Obviously, we'll be on top of that if you're behind the paywall. Other side of this game is the Warriors. This one's pretty straightforward. Obviously, Draymond's still suspended. Gary Payton, the second, is listed out. Do you have any notes on Golden State tonight?
Yeah, just should note that Gary Payton went through some quote-unquote live stuff at practice yesterday, so he's getting a little bit closer. They are off until they play on Saturday against the Mavs, so just something to note there. So he's getting closer, and then Draymond, man, he's apparently like doing stuff, but Steve Kerr was super coy, saying like, "Oh yeah, I basically can't talk about it." Paraphrasing a little bit there. So he's kind of coming back here. But yeah, he's still out. And then another comment too about the Kuminga Wiggins overlap. Kerr doesn't like it. He said that the numbers bear it out that they shouldn't play together, and he kind of hinted that like, okay, like if Steph, I'm paraphrasing this, if like Steph, Clay, or Pods or someone else are out, then they would look at it. But like where the roster is right now, they're not going to play Kuminga and Wiggins together like almost at all. We see spot overlap minutes here. And then Looney's minutes came up last game, but that was like highly matchup dependent. So we saw him crater. Moses Moody got kicked out of the rotation pretty much the whole game. We saw like a couple spot minutes there. So yeah, this is. It sounded like they're going to probably keep Moody out. So, and then Kerr said they're going to kind of keep with this 9, maybe bring in a 10th. But yeah, mostly a running back situation. Things could fluctuate a little bit, but could definitely see Looney's minutes coming way down here against Miami.
Yeah, certainly, definitely could see that as well. Let's go over to the San Antonio Spurs side. We have the last two games here. San Antonio going into Portland tonight. They are pretty straightforward. Devontae Graham's still listed out. Most of their G League guys are out, although Dominic Barlow is listed questionable. But we've seen a lot of shenanigans with Pop and the starting lineup. Keldon Johnson sounds like he's going to, remain off the bench. What are your notes here on San Antonio?
Yeah, just Wembanyama, minutes limit for sure. He'll be sitting in the back-to-back set here. They're at, playing Portland 2 in a row. So something to note there. But he'll be capped when he's out there. Excuse me. And then, yeah, Keldon's off the bench. They kind of like that move. Overall, he'll be sticking there. Tyus, we saw minutes come up. Sohan's minutes are kind of a little bit iffy. But, yeah, Vassell kind of a little disappointing. And then, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat here. And then Champagnie, insane first quarter. And then kind of like dissipated a little bit. But, yeah, expecting mostly the same situation here.
Yeah. All right. So keep an eye there. The Portland side actually probably a little bit more interesting then. We are still without DeAndre Ayton and Shaedon Sharpe, both listed out earlier in the day here tonight. And then Chris Murray listed questionable while the other G League guys are out. With the Portland side here, do you expect to see the same starters with Malcolm Brogdon and I guess it was Duop Reith, I believe. Do you expect to see the same situation here?
Well, Duop Reith was off the bench, and he was spectacular. Played his best NBA game as a pro by a lot. And Moses Brown, who handled Sabonis pretty well.
Of course, how can I forget? Moses Brown started. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
that's Jeremy's guy.
That's Jeremy's guy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I expect Moses to start again. But
Yeah.
man, um, Jabari was freaking great, man. He like kind of changed the game with his presence. So I expect a similar rotation. I think we'll see a lot of Jabari as a four. He might cut into Tamari, my pseudo guy, not my official guy, and they play a little bit bigger. We've seen Jeremy play a little bit of three, so I think Jabari's just like played too well. Billups actually called him like almost like a three, but they've been playing was like a five a lot. So I think Jabari's just like played too well not to earn minutes. And should also mention Anthony Simons, my guy, is quote the obvious number one option for this team. He's my guy, man. You know, he's cooking. So big on Ant matchup. Awesome. You know, really bad transition defense, really bad on ball defense. Definitely gonna be talking about some Anthony Simons. Possible flag plant later.
I was a year too early on Anthony because he was my guy last year. So year too early on the Simons front. I feel like this Blazers team, Mike, is your new OKC Thunder. Like they hang in there, they compete. They have a ton of young guys. You don't never know who's going to pop off in any night. You probably like when the guys like Ayton and Sharp are injured, so you can get all these Jabari Walker and Duop Reith minutes. I feel like you're loving watching this Blazers team this year.
Oh, dude, you know I love bad basketball. This is my brand.
Yeah,
man.
I know.
On top of injury news and like knowing Mikal Bridges is going to be sitting, that's like my other brand.
Scoot Henderson's starting to look a little better. You have any thoughts on him?
Man.
Yeah,
So commentary from
that
him.
is my guy.
They want him. There was actually good to bring that up because Billups said they want him to be really aggressive on offense and like they were encouraging him to make mistakes. That's great. You know, you love to hear that from like an upside standpoint. Again, he played so well by like to get the output they got from Duop. Like again, like they had 3 17-point bench scores. Tom Haberstroh had said about this first time since like 90 something, where like Harvey Grant, like and those guys had that output off the bench in a win. So yeah, just Scoot played awesome. Can he keep it going? Big question there. You know, I've been a big proponent on betting Scoot unders, but I don't know if I want to do it anymore. He's playing really well right now.
Yeah, sometimes people just have a big adjustment period. Obviously, he's playing on a really bad team with a bunch of other ball handlers. So trying to find his space and his role on this team, and I'm happy to see it for Scoot. So we'll keep an eye if that can continue. All right, last game of the night, we have the Hornets on the front end of a back-to-back, and they are super banged up still. So obviously no LaMelo. Gordon Hayward left that game early on Tuesday, and he is listed out tonight. I'm curious if you have any thoughts on his timeline. And then Mark Williams, doubtful still once again. This continues to linger. And then Brandon Miller, who missed last game as with a questionable tag, is Q once again here. So curious your thoughts on Hayward, on Miller, on Mark Williams, and anything else Charlotte-wise.
Yeah, I think Hayward's kind of RIP in peace for a little bit. Calf strain got ruled out pretty quick. He's Gordon Hayward, a really long recoverer from injuries. So I think he's missing like weeks. We haven't got anything official on that, but listed with a calf strain for his history is really bad. So enter Cody Martin. He played really well off the bench. Picked up a big defensive assignment, hit some big shots, was hitting a lot of like fadeaway jumpers. And got talked up by Clifford. Clifford had like a really short presser, but he spent most of it talking about how great Cody Martin was, called it a quote unquote reliable rotation player. And he's one of the best players they have, like no doubt. I've been like a pretty big Cody Martin guy for his defense. Like we know coaches love to use him for like Trey and handlers. They're going to need it like as best they can. Like he's probably going to guard LeBron a pretty good bit. So if Brandon Miller's in, he's gonna start, like no doubt. And this isn't the same injury that he hurt himself twice in the ankle. Should mention that. But yeah, I feel pretty strongly that Martin's minutes are strong. We saw PJ Washington's minutes get cut a little bit. He had 2 quick fouls, so something to note there. And then Miles Bridges is playing so much. We had an over on him that like hit pretty nicely on the assist. And then Rozier back. But yeah, I kind of think Cody like may just find his way in the starting lineup because he's been that valuable.
Yeah, those Martin twins are just good NBA players. There's no doubt about it. They're valuable pieces. Glad to see Cody Martin back and healthy. You have any lean on Brandon Miller tonight? You think he'll be able to go?
Yeah, I don't. It didn't sound like he was very close. Ankle tweak wasn't like terrible. And again, this isn't the same ankle he's turned twice. So kind of thinking young body, all that, but not much to add there.
All right. Lakers side to wrap things up here. Same old, same old. AD, LeBron, Cam Reddish, all Q tags. We do have Jared Vanderbilt listed probable, Rui Hachimura listed available, and of course Gabe Vincent out for a while. Any notes on the Lakers? Or are we just expecting all these guys to suit up?
Keep an eye on Cam. I got dinged up last game. They should just. I mean, this lineup's got to go. I'm kind of off the injury stuff. They like changed their defensive scheme like pretty hardcore. They were playing like 80 in a drop like a lot like for most of the season, and then they run this big lineup out there and they played like switch heavy. So it took a little bit of upside off of 80's like blocking. We saw like he just was like the blocks weren't there, but like he wasn't like blocking as much because he was on the perimeter more. He wasn't dropping. So, but I'll talk about his offense in a second. So like, are they going to continue doing that? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like you're taking away like 80's defensive strengths on top. I don't know. That's kind of just like an aside. But the other thing I was going to say was like they can't start this on offense, right? Like you've got no like anybody who's talked about NBA forever, like you need shooting with LeBron. You're going to start Taurean Prince, great. Jared Vanderbilt, not great. Cam Reddish, not great. AD doesn't really shoot threes. Like, what are we doing here, man? Just this Austin Reeves thing's got to go. Just start him.
I don't
they're not going to do it. I don't think there was a comment from Ham that they want to kind of keep this thing going for a couple games and get a little bit of a sample size. But they're closing with Reeves. These minutes have been pretty strong there. But again, I think Cam could sit if he does not play. I guess they would go back to D'Lo and then deal with the kind of big wings there. They've got enough on-ball defense. Maybe they go back more into a drop, but the teams are just hunting D'Lo so hard. And there was comments. Actually, I take that back. There was a comment from Darvin Ham saying that like D'Lo is going to be a pro and like absorb his role. So I think they kind of want to keep him there. So I actually think Austin Reeves might actually start if Cam can't go.
Another team that I'm watching closely for a trade in the next 6 weeks when the trade deadline comes around. For sure, they need to make a move, and the D'Angelo Russell contract was so clearly set up to be a trade piece.
Oh my god!
Curious to see how that shakes out, especially now that he's officially coming off the bench.
Do you have any D'Lo shares? I have zero. I should mention, man.
I don't think I was like I have a bunch of Reeves, but no, yeah.
Yeah, I was like a pretty strong supporter of like don't take Christian Wood. We got in like a couple Slack arguments. Yeah, I'm winning that one. Wood is dead. Bring out the axes for Wood. He's chopped.
Yeah, he's chopped. The Lakers do not respect Wood at all. There's no doubt about that. All right, Mike, do you have anything else to add here before we sign off?
No, I don't think so, man. Just this is pretty fun slate. Excited to talk about the DFS show later today, and big slate tomorrow. I'm running way behind on matchups. Like I said, I kind of overslept today, but pretty exciting slate today. Lots to going on here.
Yeah. All right. So check out everything we have going on behind the paywall. If you are not a subscriber, is our holiday sale still going on, Mike? We're taking it through the new year. All right, cool. So check out the establishtheRun.com/subscribe -NBA. Holiday sale still going on. So we really appreciate if you're interested at all in anything we have going on the prop street or the DFS street. We will be, of course, grinding our way right through the new year and into the rest of the NBA season. Join Mike Gallagher and Drew Dinkmeyer behind the paywall at 5 o'clock Eastern. Special show coming for you all tomorrow night. It is myself and the great Jeremy King tomorrow night at 5 o'clock Eastern behind the paywall. Very excited for that. So I know all of you people who love Jeremy out there will get to see him make his ETR NBA debut. But first, really fun slate tonight with Mike and Dink. If you are not going to show us the love behind the paywall, please do it here on the YouTube page. As Dink would say, caress, smash, press, lightly tap, whatever you're feeling. Please do so to the like button and subscribe. Send along to your friends. Tell your friends. We have our 5,000 subscriber goal before the end of the season. So please do all of the above. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Can I just say really quick, how do people not watch this show, man? I don't get it.
I know.
Like I saw so many people complaining about Mikal. How do you not watch this show, man? Like I hate Tuna Man Horn. I really do, but people are complaining about news and not having it. Like that's what we're here for. So
your own horn deserves to be tooted, Mike, with this stuff. It does. It really does. Yesterday was such a prime example, and I know you tweeted something about it. But listen, the people that are watching it, you're getting a daily edge that everyone else isn't. So obviously we want to grow it for it helps feed our families, as Drew says. But you're getting an advantage by watching the show, no doubt about it. I'll be filling in, I think, on Thursdays moving forward for the foreseeable future on this show. So you will one day a week where you're not going to have Dink. I know how great Dink and Gallagher are together. I will do my best to fill in on these Thursday shows. But thank you all. Thanks, man. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you behind the paywall at 5 o'clock. Good luck, everybody.